Hello everyone, welcome to Kerala PSC HSA English classes. This is Sri Lakshmi S. Currently, we are going through the literary criticism section of the syllabus of HSA English, and our next topic is William Wordsworth's Preface to the Lyrical Ballads. This is class 15. And I'm planning to divide this class also into different parts so that we can analyze and discuss through various concepts put forward by William Wordsworth in his Preface to the Lyrical Ballads. So, we all know that he is one of the greatest poets of England, to whom Matthew Arnold assigns a place next only to Shakespeare and Milton. He was primarily a poet and not a critic. He has left behind him no comprehensive and systematic treatise on lyrical criticism. His criticism consists of advertisement to the lyrical ballads, preface to the lyrical ballads. Preface to the lyrical ballads has been, published in 1800 and 1802, and with an appendix on poetic diction. So, Wordsworth himself tells us that his aim in writing the preface was not to give an elaborate account of his theory of poetry or to make a systematic defense of his point of view. He added the preface because he felt that his poems were of a new kind, both in theme and style, and therefore he should not, put directly at the head of the people without a word of introduction. So he seeks to bring about drastic revaluations of earlier poetry so that his own poetry may be properly appreciated. So let me take you to the synopsis of Wordsworth's preface of 1802. The first volume of the Lyrical Ballads was published without any preface. It had only a brief advertisement. His preface is in the nature of a defense of his theory that poetry must be written in a selection of the real language of men when in a state of emotional excitement. Poems recollected in tranquility. His poems were a revolt against the artificial poetic diction popular in the age. His preface is in the nature of an introduction rather than a systematic defense of his theory of poetry. His purpose in the preface is to warn his readers that the poems in the collection are of a new kind, radically different from the conventional poetry to which they are used. They should not expect, conventional pleasure from his poems. You may be familiar with the idea that Wordsworth preferred humble and rustic life. The poet's aim has been to choose incidents and situations from common life and to relate them in a selection of language really used by men, and at the same time to throw over them a coloring of imagination, whereby ordinary things would be presented to the mind in an unusual aspect. The familiar will become the unfamiliar to the people. So he has chosen the various aspects of the humble and rustic life for a number of reasons. The reasons are, in a humble and rustic life, feelings are freely and frankly expressed. Next, in rustic life, feelings are more simple and so are expressed more accurately and forcefully. Third, the manners of the rustics are not sophisticated. They are simple and more conducive to an understanding of human nature. And the next is, in rustic life, human passions are connected with the grand and noble objects of nature, and so they are more noble and permanent. Now, about his choice of rustic language, He has used the language of rustics because such men hourly communicate with the best objects of nature, from which the best part of the language is derived. And because they convey their feelings and emotions in a simple, unelaborated, and more philosophical language. Wordsworth stressed on emotion. Every poem in the collection differs from contemporary poetry because there is nothing mean and trivial about it. Every one of his poems has a worthy purpose, that of enlightening the readers and purifying their emotions. They are the spontaneous overflow of passion, but passion has been modified by thought. In his poems, feelings are more important than action and situation, and in this way, he has tried to correct the contemporary craving for the unusual in situation and incident. Now, about the poetic diction. The theme of his poems is different, are different, and equally different is his language. He has avoided the various, you know, uh, difficult or hackneyed devices of poetic diction used by contemporary poets. He has selected natural themes and he has used a natural language. He has looked steadily at his subject, and so his rendering of it is true to nature. He has also varied his language according to the needs of the character and sentiment. Wordsworth concludes that there neither is nor can there be ever be any essential difference between the language of prose and verse. The only difference is that the poets use meter. According to Wordsworth, meter is not essential to poetry, but it is an additional source of pleasure, so its use is desirable. A poet may speak either through his characters or in his own person. In either case, the use of artificial poetic devices is not only useless but also useless but also harmful. A simpler diction should be used for the less elevated emotions. So this would impart variety to the style and heighten the contrast and heighten by contrast the charm of the nobler diction used for the more elevated emotions. Wordsworth's purpose in writing the preface was to bring about a revolution in poetic taste. It would also result in a better appreciation of earlier English poets. So there is a lot more to discuss about the poet, about Wordsworth's concept about the poet, poetic pleasure, poetic truth, his views on nature, and about the poetic process, his theory of poetry, theory of poetic diction. So this we will discuss in the coming classes. Okay. So now we are moving on to module 7, basic grammar, reported speech. So today I will tell about the rules for reporting questions. So asked, enquired, etc. are the reporting verbs that are commonly used for reporting questions. For example, Sajida asked, which way did Sunil go? Sajida enquired as to which way Sunil went. In case of the question is not introduced by an interrogative word, the reporting verb is generally followed by if or whether. For example, Girish asked his brother, are you ready? Girish asked his brother if he was ready. Okay, that's all for today. We'll continue our classes. Please stay tuned with the channel. Love you all. Bye.